This is the 1992 United States Air and Trade Show. Brought to you in part by Dorito brand tortilla chips. Now even nacho cheesier. Now here are your hosts, Ed Meckenbauer and Jim Baldridge.
From the city that taught the world to fly, this is the 1992 United States Air and Trade Show.
Dayton, Ohio, where the Wright brothers built the first airplanes and where the U.S. Air Force pushes aerospace technology to the edge of the envelope. It is the heart of aviation.
And once every summer, it is literally the center of the aviation world. People in airplanes from around the globe are here to be part of one of the premier events in flying and aerospace. Hi, I'm Jim Baldridge.
And I'm Ed Meckenbauer.
And we have some amazing things to show you.
In the hour ahead, you'll share some of the most exciting flying in the world.
We'll thrill to the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds and their brand new F-16C Fighting Falcons.
How about this for the soul of flying? Just the air holds aloft the sailplane of Steve Powell.
Screaming raw power is what pulls Mike Wiggins' Cyclone among the clouds.
And this Navy FA-18 Hornet will buzz the flight line and maneuver like few other jets in the world.
How many people do you know who would do this? And the wing walker is a lady.
Warbird, replicas of World War I, the real things from World War II, in a blaze of fire and smoke.
The tiniest jet in the world is here, along with the frenzied aerobatics of Team America.
Next, the once top-secret F-117 stealth fighter is in the sky over Dayton.
Stay with us for the 1992 United States Air and Trade Show. Welcome back to the United States Air and Trade Show in Dayton, Ohio.
We have literally 100 or more aircraft here on the ground for you to see, among them the Lockheed F-117 stealth fighter.
People from all over the world have come to Dayton to see this amazing aircraft, not only on the ground, but also in the air. What a weird-looking airplane this is, Ed. It's a treat to see this thing flying.
This is covert precision strike at its best. This was actually born in 1974 as a desire to build an airplane that was less detectable by radar, and I guess they proved it about 2 years ago.
Why all the angles? Everything's square, triangular.
The idea, Jim, is to make an airplane that absorbs a little bit of radar energy, but most of it is reflected away from, like an echo comes back to you. In this case, the radar energy is reflected away from the emitter.
And I'm surprised at the maneuverability, the agility of this fighter plane.
Well, Jim, with a 43-foot span and a 65-foot length, this is a fighter aircraft, and it's flown by a fighter pilot.
Flying at the U.S. Air and Trade Show in Dayton, the strange-looking but very effective F-117A stealth fighter.
Hey, Jim, from one of the most sophisticated to one of the earliest, the 1908 Wright B Flyer.
Bill Sloan and John Warlick in Dayton have flown this airplane all over the country, really in several places in the world, including Berlin, as the wall came down.
This aircraft was bought on a $25,000 contract with performance guaranteed. Top speed, 54 miles an hour.
Wow, the world's first military airplane, the Wright B Flyer, a replica as accurate as can be legally built and flown.
Bringing up, here comes Snoopy with the old Sopwith Camel.
We're in World War I now. These aircraft are much smaller than you'd expect them to be, Ed.
And that unique sound comes from a totally rotating engine. It was a total loss oil system that passed through.
And it kind of went on and off. And what do we have here?
And this is the Fokker D7. This was the bad guys' airplane in the First World War. A pretty paint job. Jim, these aircraft are exact replicas, even down to the wrappings around the control column. The third person in this trio is an SE-5, Jim, with that menacing machine gun on top. Also very replica accurate.
And now we've moved into the World War II era.
More than any other aircraft type, more than 18,000 B-24s were built during the Second World War. Not only as bombers, but for leaflet dropping, called nickeling, and for agent drops, when they took the belly ball turret out and replaced it with an open hole called the Joe hole.
This B-24 crew renamed its airplane Joe in memory of 9,500 G.I. Joes killed in the skies over Europe and the Pacific. The artist doing the paint work is Owen Hughes.
it's nostalgia. I love to do it. Airplanes are my second love, you might say. So I saw their fuddy-duddy, and I didn't like the artwork on it. It wasn't right. So I told them what I did, and that I wanted to do their plane.
And here's the fuddy-duddy that Owen Hughes also repainted, a B-17.
Complete with a ball turret, chin turret, 2 cheek turrets, tail turret, and 2 top guns. What a beautiful airplane.
Also from the World War II era, the namesake of a plane you spent a lot of time in, Ed.
This is the F-4U Corsair 1. Yes, Jim, I got about 1,500 hours in the Corsair 2.
The A-7. B-17 in the air. Look at this, a majestic airplane in that Dayton sky.
Jim, and if we're not careful here, we're going to give ourselves a little rock and roll here as these aircraft gather up here. We're going to...
Whoa! Whoa! A little extra realism here.
A little 4-ship here with a P-51, an F-4U, and a P-47, and they're flying top cover for the B-17. Down the line again.
Whoa, real gathering of warbirds here, putting on quite a show at the U.S. Air and Trade Show.
And here comes Joe with the B-24 with his new nose paint. Boy,
Bombay's open. Okay, and there we go again.
As this T-6 Texan was a workhorse for training U.S. pilots in the 1940s, one of the big questions at the air show this year is, what will be the next aircraft for the Air Force and the Navy?
The United States Air and Trade Show in Dayton is one of the world's top aerospace business shows. 4 of the 5 planes competing for the multi-billion-dollar trainer contract were on display in Dayton this year, and 2 of them flew. The Pampa is LTV's entry. This is the Pampa IA-63, which has a 4-year history of success as a trainer for Argentina. The U.S. version would be built to slightly different specifications and called the Pampa 2000. It's a single-engine jet with a stepped-up cockpit. The student sits in front of and below the instructor. The other contender in the air at Dayton was the Beech PC-9, which boasts a propeller instead of a jet engine. Why train jet pilots on a prop? Beech says the PC-9 can do anything the jets can do, but generally cheaper and with greater ease of maintenance. The trainer program is called JPATS, or Joint Primary Aircraft Training System. In addition to buying the same airplane, the Navy and Air Force would buy the same ground school computer simulations, all part of the overall price. It will almost certainly be the last big Pentagon airplane contract of the 20th century, something in the neighborhood of $4 to $8 billion. The Pentagon will make its decision in about a year and a half.
The air show has just begun. Straight ahead, the power of the Air Force's F-15 Eagle. Welcome back to the 1992 United States Air and Trade Show here in Dayton, Ohio.
Among the combat-proven aircraft here in Dayton, the F-15 Eagle. This is a big airplane, a big twin-engine jet fighter. Captain Matt Donovan of Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida and Alabama flying for us today.
Matt says good training and a good aircraft means a good kill ratio. In this case, in the Gulf War, it was 34-0 in favor of the Eagle.
Look at this turn for an airplane of this size, a fighter which needs to be nimble, a very tight turn.
Almost 18 tons turning around in a 1,600-foot radius at 8 Gs. That's 8 times a man's weight. 8 people sitting on your lap, Jim.
Too many for me, Ed. This is the F-15 Air Superiority version, but this also comes in an F-15E Strike Eagle version in which the air-to-ground function of this aircraft is highlighted while keeping the air-to-air superiority mode.
Air-to-air or air-to-ground, despite being so big, it is awfully agile with some of the new flight control systems that we have in today's modern aircraft.
We saw it flying dirty there, that is with its gear down, and then it lit the afterburners, and away we go with another one of those tight turns as the condensation rolls off the wingtips.
A tight turn into a real nice slow roll. A good planform view of the F-15 from McDonnell Douglas, built in St. Louis. Watch this now, Jim. Rather than just make a simple right-hand turn, Matt Donovan's going to show his true skill and turn left to go right. It's more fun that way.
And he got an aileron rolling at the same time.
A little moisture in the air here today, a little wingtip vortices coming off. Now watch, here's a little variation on the theme, a 4-point roll, a slight hesitation at each of the 4 compass points.
These maneuvers are aerobatic maneuvers, but they're useful in combat. This isn't just a game. He's demonstrating his fighting skills here.
And his pilot skills. Now, talk about pilot skills.
Look at this. Beautiful airplane. Little commercial there for B.F. Goodrich.
And our good friend Bill Leff, who comes to us from Bloomington, Illinois, flying the T6 Texan.
The T6 stands for trainer. This was a World War II era trainer.
Yeah, Jim, I'm
was
not
this
quite...
before your time?
Yeah, I knew you'd get a comment in about relative maturity here,
I wasn't
young man.
sure, Ed.
This is a T6, which was the most predominantly used trainer in the Second World War. I actually came in a little later on. Jim flew the T-37 in my pilot training day. But for 14 years, Bill Leff has been sponsored by B.F. Goodrich, thrilling people all over the country and taking a lot of the customers for a ride.
Big engine and a pretty good-sized, sturdy airframe. This had to be big and fast, even in a trainer mode, because they were training for some of the big, fast airplanes, the Mustang.
And it had to be forgiving as well, Jim, given the fact that it was a training aircraft.
This is just about as different as you can get. This is Steve Powell of Memphis, Tennessee, in a B-4 sailplane.
Built by the Planet Company, this is a totally different way to fly.
No engine here. It's riding the thermals up and down.
But you're still, Jim, performing all the same basic acrobatic maneuvers we've seen here. In this case, he's going to go up, push it over the top, do aileron rolls and loops and stalls and everything else we see out of the more conventional powered aircraft.
Let's just watch and listen. No engine needed, becoming one with the wind, the sailplane of Steve Powell.
Well, another form of unpowered flight here. We have the Airborne Express jump team. From a 30-to-1, 30 feet forward to 1 foot down in a sailplane to 1 foot forward, 1 foot down, under a 20 by 12 foot flying wing. Really, Jim?
This is one kind of flying I've never done, and I don't think I'll ever do, Ed. But nonetheless, we have a little demonstration live from one of these Airborne Express jumpers.
I'm Ron Langendeffer, one of the team members of the Airborne Express skydiving team. We just departed an aircraft a little over 3/4 of a mile off the runway, and we're now working our way down. Unbelievable. What a view. What a view.
Ron, how fast are you going right now?
I'm descending at about 500 feet a minute, and my canopy's traveling about 20 to 30 miles an hour. And let me give you a little demonstration of what this guy can do. I'll put her in a left turn for you.
Amazing.
I'm just going to fly down a little bit here. I'm at about 500 feet right now. Take it down to shoreline and give the crowd a little demonstration on how you can slow these things up.
Okay, tell us what you're doing as you do it.
Well, I'm pulling down on the rear risers. And we'll just kind of pull it in like this. And over the Thunderbird support group right now. And we'll just come in here, turn her into the wind, and pull down, and sure, there it was. Another stand. Amazing.
Okay, terrific landing. Congratulations. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much.
Next, from the U.S. Air and Trade Show, Team America.
Also coming up, the Bud Light Microjet, the United States Navy's FA-18 Hornet, and the Lady Wingwalker. And the stars of our show, the United States Air Force Thunderbirds.
All ahead following these messages. We are back at the United States Air and Trade Show in Dayton, Ohio, and in the air right now, Team America.
Something a little different here. These are military-style formations with civilian airplanes.
We'll be listening to some of the radio commands from the team leader and also listening to the team narrator, J.P. Hollywood Jarvie.
Flying the lead aircraft today is Mr. Chuck Lisher out of Cameron Park, California, with over 7,000 hours of flying time and over 70 different aircraft. A graduate of San Diego State University, he's a gas compression engineer. On his left wing, a formal naval aviator with over 15,000 hours of flying time. And everything from drop dusters to large multi-engine transports. On his right wing is Mr. Brian Sanders, who's an unlimited air racer, aircraft parts fabricator and machinist out of Chino, California.
That Marchetti F-260 is quite an airplane, Ed. I had a chance to fly with Chuck Lisher. And I'll tell you, there are 4 seats in there. As hard as it is to believe in an aerobatic plane, 4 places to sit in that cockpit.
Please keep your tray tables and your seat belts in their full upright and locked position throughout the performance, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it's not quite that civilized, but it's a very comfortable airplane.
This is, Jim, and as we said, you know, this is not an acrobatic or a military jet-style airplane, side-by-side seating. So this is really, here's a beautiful picture out of the rear-view mirror almost for Chuck Lisher, the '1 pilot here, up and over the top, about 2,000 feet above the ground.
You know, in the full 15-minute show, Team America performed 50 maneuvers.
Roll back closes and rolling.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, as your cameras ready, as Team America turns 180 degrees, they'll point these aircraft directly towards the crowd at a speed of nearly 300 miles per hour to perform for you their trademark maneuver, the roll back cross.
Okay, that's what you call collision effect. Emphasis on the effect there, James.
Scared me, I'll tell you that. Down the flight line now, this is going to be a knife's edge pass. 2 soloists coming together, turning at the last minute in that knife's edge and just barely missing each other.
These are beautiful aircraft, Jim, and a nice deep blue paint job on them, up into the sky here. Actually, a perfect sky today. Yeah, it's about 340 horsepower on the Wingman airplane. They've got a little bit more than Chuck does because they need that to close some of that gap when they're flying on the outside of the whip, shall we say.
That was a corkscrew climb going up into that maneuver, then and upside down to the vertical up and over.
Now
and
a snap roll coming down the show center.
This is Team America from California performing at the United States Air and Trade Show in Dayton, Ohio.
Break now. Horizon now.
And on behalf of Team America, I'd like to take this time to dedicate this giant heart in the sky to all the lovely ladies here in the Dayton audience.
Up into the sky again, a little crossing at the bottom there. Jim, they go about 2,000 feet above the ground. I asked Chuck, I said, what kind of airspeed you have to have going across the top? He says, I don't know if you got to look, you messed it up.
Makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Have a fingertip formation here, the 3 together.
Right, and the leader is leading the pack literally because the other 2 guys are only looking at him. And as we hear in the show, you know, he tells them what they're doing and their attitude and their altitudes and airspeeds.
Good point. These folks are marks on the other airplanes, I suppose, as in the military teams. They're watching alignments very, very carefully rather than thinking independently and looking straight ahead.
Absolutely. In the military, it's called putting the light on the stars, just flying formation. Now, watch it here. We got the guys coming towards us here, and Chuck Lisher is running the show. Watch him. He's calling it.
Break now.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the Purple Bombers.
Snap now.
Now, Ed, watch what we're going to see here. This is a really high-speed join-up. It's hard to remember sometimes these are propeller planes because they're behaving an awful lot like jets. Look at them.
They get up to about 300 miles an hour in the show.
Over the top.
All right.
And Chuck continues to run the show there from the lead position down the backside. These aircraft, Jim, come from a pretty interesting background. Chuck's airplane was built for a mercenary and never quite got there. It was seized. Aircraft number 2 and 3 actually saw service in the Belgian Congo in the Zaire Air Force, and they literally showed up in crates and were put together by Barney Register number 2 and Brian Sanders number 3.
In their 7th year together, the photo pass. At the U.S. Air and Trade Show, this is Team America.
A see the Air Force Thunderbirds are marching to their aircraft.
And just ahead, we have a Cyclone in the air.
Stay with us.
Welcome back. One of the biggest stars here at the United States Air and Trade Show is one of the world's smallest jets, the Bud Light Microjet, flown by Leo Loudenslager.
Boy, it sure is hard to get good help these days. I'm sure glad this goes faster in the air than it does on the ground.
Well, against that big Starlifter, Ed, you got an idea of just how tiny this microjet is.
With a length of 12 feet and 17 feet from wingtip to wingtip and less than 1,000 pounds, Leo has got his handful of a little airplane here.
A little homemade airplane. This was designed from a kit, meant to be a build-it-in-your-garage type of airplane, really, and meant to be powered by a propeller engine.
That's right. In fact, Leo's even taken this airplane, as we've seen it in years past, with 220 pounds of thrust. He's got up to 320 pounds of thrust.
There's Leo.
And Leo. A unique two-shot there. Gentlemen. Yeah. Give you a chance what Leo sees and what we see here on the ground.
Well, we're doing what? 8-point roll there, Ed?
Doing an 8-point roll. And this airplane's got about a 300 mile an hour, 350 miles an hour, actually, max speed as he pulls straight up into the sky here. Does about 120 knots across the top, just a little light in the seat. And back down the backside, 180 to 200 knots, miles an hour, really. These aircraft, you do miles an hour. You ever try to figure out how you go from knots to miles per hour?
I've tried and failed many times,
Just
Ed.
like you're supposed to figure a tip, 15% more for miles per hour. So add 10% and half of that and you got it. Okay.
I made a note of that.
I made a note.
One of the great things about this act, Leo Loudenslager's act, is that it's all happening directly over the main runway here, right over show center. He doesn't get away from the crowd a little bit.
Not away from the crowd either laterally or vertically. The top of his show is less than 2,000 feet above the ground.
Okay, Looper Loudenslager, they call him. Why do they call him Looper?
Just because he spends most of his life doing acrobatic maneuvers. We also see him fly the Bud Light Laser 200.
That's right. Amazing performer. One of the world's great aerobatic pilots, Leo Loudenslager, in the Bud Light Microjet. And Ed, we have a Cyclone in the air right now.
Jim, this is J. Michael Wiggin and his nostalgia and modern technology blend. An airplane that he wanted to make exciting and fun, but patterned after the 1930s racers.
Looks the part. As he goes down the flight line here, bank sharp to the right. Beautiful airplane in the skies of the United States Air and Trade Show.
There, we'll throw in a second half of a horizontal E just to confuse them. You know, you wonder why I don't talk very much when I'm doing this. Well, it's hard when your vocal cords are sitting on your lap. Okay, let's see how fast you can count to 16,
right, Mike? I can understand that.
This is absolutely a gorgeous airplane. He's got a great big Pratt & Whitney 985 engine on there. It develops 550 horsepower.
The cockpit's set way back in the rear of the fuselage, and that's not only for effect. We know that's partly the case. That was his goal, was a 30s look, but that engine's taken up a big part of that.
A good part of that space. It only weighs a little less than 3,000 pounds max gross.
Pulling that airplane, the Cyclone, through the air. Listen.
Don't want to do that. You know, people think you're fronting just to be theatrical, but on the downside, it's not bad here. I'm just sitting at one positive, one negative, but by the time you get adding all that horsepower and G together, it gets to be a little more than a person can stand. So, rack it around at 360. Almost forgot to rest there and start to black out. Takes a while to get your cookies back together. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we'll just climb a little bit more.
J. Michael Wiggin and his amazing home-designed and homemade Cyclone.
Airplane.
And here's a whirlwind of a different kind, the McDonnell Douglas FA-18 Hornet.
What a great classic fighter plane. Ed, I know you as a fighter pilot must be thinking this is kind of a dream come true here.
Oh, this is a great airplane. Built by McDonnell Douglas, powered by General Electric. The F404 engines and the FA-18 plan form give us a complete turning circle here in about 1,600 feet radius, a little less than half a mile.
Well, this is the same airplane flown by the U.S. Navy Blue Angels, the Navy's flight demonstration team. And this is kind of an exception to the Navy's fighter plane rule. Normally, 2 people are in a fighter plane in the Navy, but in this case, there's just 1.
That's true, Jim. And today, that single seat is occupied by Lieutenant Scott Anderson of VFA 106, the Gladiators down at Jacksonville.
FA-18 is flown by the U.S. Marine Corps and the Navy, and is replacing largely A-7s, the aircraft you've flown for so many years.
And it's being flown by several countries around the world, most recently Finland.
Look at this high angle of attack, very slow pass down the flight line at the U.S. Air and Trade Show in Dayton. Just ahead, Teresa Stokes. How would you like to have her job?
That's one seat with a view I can pass on, sir.
Also coming up, the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds. Stay with us. Welcome back to the United States Air and Trade Show. This event at the birthplace of aviation is thrills and chills in the sky and a lot more. The U.S. Air and Trade Show is one of the world's premier business meetings of the aerospace community.
Hundreds of exhibitors, large and small, are here. Many of them come from foreign countries. The giants of aerospace come here for a lot more than the flying. They're attracted by Dayton's aviation history, nearby Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which develops many Air Force weapon systems, and the trade show's new ultra-modern facilities.
And this is very nice. It's the nicest air show facility I've been at. Paris and London art is new and clean and well air-conditioned. It's been very, very nice.
Nice indeed. In fact, some of those magnificent men and women and their flying machines at the United States Air and Trade Show Exhibition Hall literally came from out of this world. In particular, astronauts from the Space Shuttle Endeavour. Jim?
Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Kevin P. Chilton was the pilot of the Shuttle Endeavour, and Navy Commander Pierre Thuot was one of the 3 spacewalkers who snared and then repaired a broken communication satellite.
We were extremely pleased when we finally grabbed the satellite. There was a couple low moments there during the mission, some real low moments for me, particularly when I was out on the end of that arm all by myself, and it was kind of lonely out there.
There was some danger, the astronauts concede, but they say they didn't feel it then. Pilot Kevin Chilton says it's all part of mankind's need to explore.
We're explorers by nature, and that's how we've explored this planet from our roots, and we're explored the depths of the ocean, and now we're heading out into space, and it's just the way we are. We're going to continue to do it.
And now that the Cold War is over, Chilton says, space exploration should drive the high technology research to keep America on top.
So now we have a goal of developing a space station. We have a goal of returning to the moon, a goal of going to Mars, and continuing human exploration of space. And it will be these goals and these mountains to climb, I feel, will be the prime sources for technological development in this country.
The United States Air and Trade Show at Dayton, Ohio, in June of every other year, is this country's world-class aerospace business gathering.
Space Flight Center in Houston, Texas. And here she comes. You look at her. She's hanging on to the side of the airplane. Here's Teresa.
This is really 2 great air acts in one. Gene Soucy is a heck of a barnstorming aerobatic pilot. And look on the wing. That is Teresa Stokes.
She's a firm advocate. Don't let go with one hand till the other one's holding on to something good and strong.
I'll tell you,
the way she moves around in that airplane, I don't know, Jim. That's not one I'd like to swap positions with.
Now, she starts on the wings, unbelted on, unrestrained in any way, and spends a fair amount of time out there. Then, while the airplane's flying along, 150 miles per hour or so, she climbs up on that top wing, belts herself into the harness. Now, hey, are we having fun now or what? Look at this.
Just having a great time. Of course, Gene Soucy sitting in the back seat's got having a good time, too, flying one of the very few Grumman aircraft that we see in the air show circuit. This is actually, Jim, an aircraft that ag pilots use for going out and spraying crops and protecting the food supply in the United States. He's modified it a little bit, put a little clip wing on there, taken the hopper out where they put the insecticide or whatever, put a second seat in so she has someplace else to go.
I'll tell you, she's got to have a funny feeling in the pit of her stomach no matter how many times she's done that. There's nothing between her head and the ground there except a few hundred feet of air.
That's right. Got a great big 450 horsepower engine out in front of her, also adding to the breeze.
Right now, she's strapped upside down. No matter how strange it looks to us, theoretically, she's as safe as if she were sitting in the first class of a 747. Still, I got to tell you, that takes some courage. I wonder how you decide at some point in your career, I think I'm going to climb out in the wings and right out there for a while.
Well, she did it kind of just out of curiosity one time. She herself is an accomplished acrobatic pilot, and significantly also, she's an artist responsible for the paint job in this aircraft as well. But she did it one time and just kind of got hooked.
I don't think I'd ever even do it one time. Well, we're up into a kind of a looping roll here, upside down and around the top we go, and Teresa Stokes still up there. Now, we're going to see something in just a moment that is even stranger to my way of thinking, because after this pass down the flight line, Teresa Stokes is going to unrestrain herself, unbelt herself from that harness on top of the biplane, and we're going to see her come flying down the flight line at Dayton International Airport with a somewhat different configuration.
Out of a hammerhead stall there, now we see, again, you know, the teamwork that's so important between the pilot and the rider in something like this, because she has to anticipate what he's going to do, and he has to have a good idea what she's going to do, especially in those maneuvers where she is not securely strapped to the aircraft as she is right now. Interestingly enough, the most dangerous maneuver is that hammerhead stall we saw because of the imbalance on the aircraft. One wing is, you know, politely at least 100 pounds heavier than the other.
Well, she claims that she's a 95-pound weight out in that wing. That's how big she is, Teresa Stokes. Not a big lady, and probably for the sake of the pilot, a good thing for that. Okay, here it is, what I've been telling you about. Now, yes, she is upside down, strapped on top of that airplane, and she makes her final pass down the flight line at Dayton International Airport. Teresa Stokes, Gene Sousa.
Afterburners on the Thunderbirds are lit, and the stars of the United States Air and Trade Show 1992 are on their takeoff roll. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Watching the United States Air and Trade Show, and the United States Air Force Thunderbirds are in the air.
Jim, this is their 39th year thrilling people around the world being ambassadors for the United States Air Force, as all the military services really, as they go around and demonstrate their precision flying in the air and their excellent skills on the ground.
These are 4 of the 6 airplanes, F-16C, new airplane, Fighting Falcon. Been in the Fighting Falcon for about 10 years, new in the C model this year. For most of us, we can't tell them apart, but it's an improvement in power and some other things. The Diamond down towards the flight line now.
Gathering speed up about 350 knots here, maintaining a traditional Thunderbird diamond formation. And the four-ship is the basic, but they've got the 2 opposite solos who keep somebody in front of the crowd all the time. Nice inverted pass, 325 knots down the runway.
Sure, it's a beautiful paint job on that airplane.
Very distinctive, and it must be good. It hasn't changed in 39 years, really, Jim.
Aileron rolls then left to right. The other soloist, and we're looking for the 4-ship Diamond again, and here they come from right to left.
This is their very close together parade pass. A great photo opportunity. A mere 36 inches between one guy's wingtip and another guy's nose.
And soloist now on the nice edge. You can see that Thunderbird paint on the bottom of the aircraft. Losing altitude really as he goes down there. Another, well, these are aileron rolls.
This will be an 8-point roll, Jim, as he comes across again, show center, and just stopping the airplane every 45 degrees in the roll.
Soloists are Captain Dave Kaufman of Chicago and Captain Clark Buck Rogers of Tampa, Florida. Anybody in the Air Force with the last name of Rogers and who is a pilot has to be nicknamed Buck, right? Over the top in the Diamond.
The Diamond roll, Thunderbird. Now remember, the guys in the wingtips, they've got to go like a corkscrew, while the leader, he just gets to roll himself over. Upside down and right side up. The other guys are working on all 3 axes.
And here we come again from right to left. The soloists, a very lazy roll now. Again, showing all kinds of things that this F-16 Fighting Falcon can do. This is an amazingly nimble aircraft, perhaps the most nimble and agile aircraft in the world.
little faster roll this time, and the idea, of course, is to center the pass. As you're upside down exactly at show center on the slow roll, the middle of the 3 consecutive rolls there is right over show center. Now we got the 4-ship in the Arrowhead.
Commander of the Thunderbirds this year is Lieutenant Colonel Daniel J. Darnell of Virginia. He's a man out front there.
As they approach 4,500 feet over show center here, about 200 knots down the backside. The Arrowhead loop.
At the top of this loop, you kind of float. Managed to snag a ride with these guys once upon a time, and at the top there's just a gentle moment when you have really no weight. You're kind of
That's right, Jim. What you have to do is you enter this maneuver around 400 knots, pull back on the stick about 4 Gs, and as you get to the top, as the airspeed bleeds off, you might stall the airplane if you kept the G load. So you let it float. It's called in the float. As the airspeed starts building down the backside, then you can start laying the Gs back on the airplane to come out again at the same altitude that you entered the maneuver.
Now the 2 soloists. Oh, this is one of my favorites. Watch out!
The switchblade or the switchover. The collision effect again. The word.
A very successful effect, I think.
Here's an interesting maneuver, Jim. Everybody,
isn't that beautiful?
On their own there. Bonton roll.
Bonton roll. One of the amazing things about the Thunderbirds and all of the acts we've seen is the fact that they have to take into consideration the perspective of the audience. So their maneuvers are slightly offset. Upside down, right side up.
Hey, Calypso man, we got one guy up and one guy down. The Calypso pass.
The viewpoint of the audience is important because they're offset one way or the other. Now look at this. Straight up into the air, the 4-ship coming into the diamond formation now.
The trail to diamond loop, and now as they go across the top, about 170 to 180 miles an hour. It may seem slow for an airplane. We think of jet speeds and Mach 1 and Mach 2.
Mach 2, yeah, Mach 2 plus here.
But in this particular airplane now, they're only using 85 to 90% of the thrust available. And to go back to something else with maneuverability, only about 15 degrees angle of attack when the airplane can go up to 25. So there's a great margin of safety, but it also shows the extreme capability of the airplane. And these guys aren't even touching the corner of the envelope.
And they don't exceed the speed of sound at any point during the air show because it would be against the law for them to do so.
That would make formation flying awfully touchy. The faster you go, the quicker the aerodynamic forces react on the surface of your airplane, and makes it a whole lot more difficult.
Look at that pass. Aileron rolls for the 2 soloists as they cross in front of the crowd. And now we've got the dirty pass with the 4-ship Diamond, Ed.
Showing the great speed and handling agility of the aircraft, Jim. They come in the landing configuration to show low speed, and right at show center. With a tremendous overtake is the solo pilot, number 5.
How slow they can go and how fast they can go.
Absolutely. This airplane actually is kind of an interesting history. It wasn't really intended to be anything more than a technology demonstrator in 1972 as the Advanced Combat Fighter, or Lightweight Fighter, but it just kept going. It was so good a design that now we're approaching 2,000 of these things in use by about 20 countries around the world.
And for a long time there was talk, and occasionally you still hear it, of an A-16, an F-16 model that would be a ground attack plane. This is brand new in the Thunderbird show this year. This is the high angle of attack, very slow pass. Down the flight line, down to 130 knots or so.
And one of the amazing things we see, Jim, is these big airplanes with the digital fly-by-wire flight control systems. They're just as rock solid in the pilot's hand. To do that with a conventional airplane, you'd be stalling.
Absolutely. Well, that's an important consideration here as we go into that, my favorite maneuver, as a matter of fact, a corkscrew climb there. The computers inside the airplane are continually adjusting. The pilot's inputs, what he does with the stick and the rudder, all go into a computer, and then the computer actually tells the controlling services what to do. So you can't overstress the airplane, and it's stable where other aircraft wouldn't be because the computer's making these adjustments all the time.
Now we've got an interesting maneuver here, one of the Thunderbird traditional things, the 5-card loop.
Isn't that beautiful?
Now the boss is in the forward left, so everybody is just kind of lined up off him. As we always say, light on the star, because when you're upside down, going straight up, straight down, if you're not the leader, you're not looking at those outside references. You're just flying off another man's airplane, subscribing a circle, anywhere from about 350 knots at the bottom, 200 knots at the top, straight up, straight down from 500 feet above the show line to 4,500 feet above the show line.
Mention the name of the boss and the soloists. Left wing is Captain Jeffrey Rochelle of Las Vegas. The right wing is Captain Leonard Coleman of Savannah, Georgia. And the slot is Paul Strickland, a captain from Santa Ana, California. Oh, minimum radius turn. Look at that afterburner light up.
Minimum radius turn here, 8 to 9 Gs, 1,500-foot radius on this turn. That's from one side to the other, 1,500-foot radius. Not a diameter, unfortunately. a 1,500-foot radius, and he's back out the other side, 425 knots.
And that proves it that this may indeed be the most nimble jet fighter in the entire
Just
world.
a little over a half a mile to turn that airplane 360 degrees.
Now, F-4s, which these guys once flew, the Thunderbirds once flew,
We'll be polite.
And you've flown them many times.
Many times, lots of hours, and probably politely twice the space.
Oh, look at this.
We have the old vertical bomb burst here.
Watch right in the middle, because we're going to be seeing through the smoke at the center.
Now, it looks like everybody's going off their own direction to do their own thing, but really they've got time and distance.
There he
checks.
comes. But they're going to let me down that one time.
never
There he
let you
comes.
down.
The corkscrew climb right up to the center of all that smoke. Isn't that beautiful?
Meanwhile, the four ships have all got headings, times, and distances that will get them all back over show center almost simultaneously.
And you're asking yourself, how long can he go straight up? Well, a long, long way, because he's producing more thrust than the aircraft weighs.
Yes, Jim, and generally we think of the Thunderbirds and we think of the four-ship formation, but today we're going to see a little bit more of them in the six-ship, all six aircraft together, showing the superior skill of all of the pilots as individuals and as a team.
Well, this formation is called the Delta for obvious reasons, and staying really in this formation is a lot of work for the pilots, Ed, especially the guys on the far end, the far left and far right.
5 on the far left and 6 on the far right, having to work flying off 2 and 3 who are working to fly off the lead up in the front there. Number 4's got the only relatively easy job. He just has to follow the leader without saying, "Mother, may I?"
Now, the guys on the far left and the far right are using more gas, too, aren't
They're
they?
using more gas and using larger throttle movements. And of course, in the F-16, the stick doesn't really move. It has just a little bit, about 1/8 of an inch of movement to the stick. It's like a four-stick in a video game. But they're pulling and pushing in that thing a whole lot more than the leader, who's just kind of fingering it around. They're out there really huffing and puffing, working up and down, left and right, forward down.
And when we think of the Thunderbirds, we naturally think of those 6 airplanes and 6 pilots, but in reality, the Thunderbirds, look at this picture, the Thunderbirds are 140 very highly professional, highly motivated men and women, officers and enlisted, who all are part of that pride in the Air Force and in the Thunderbirds, and those pilots will be the first to tell you the enlisted people are the ones that make them fly. In the air, the United States Air Force Thunderbirds, stars of the United States Air and Trade Show.
Sure make you proud to be a part of the team. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Another exciting U.S. Air and Trade Show, Ed Meckenbauer.
Jim Baldridge and I have certainly enjoyed bringing you the unique perspective of the air show this year.
Thanks for being with us. We hope to see you again next year, right here, Dayton, Ohio, the birthplace of aviation. So long.
The 1992 United States Air and Trade Show has been brought to you by Ruffles. Now, Ruffles potato chips have more taste and more crunch. They're so good, you'd better get your own bag.
Airstrips of the 50s and 60s.